Okay, some. How many of you are raising money? Still have your... okay, so we still have some hands there. Okay, so investors are very key for our survival as a startup. They can share their connection, their valuable insights, and of course they give us capital. So I would like to invite Mohammad to tell us a little bit more about the RD Labs and RD Capital. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ando. You made my life miserable. But the thing is, for me, this is my fourth time being here. So I've been coming to actually this space for the past 3 Web Summits, bringing our startups before actually the Web Summit 1 week before, where we run a series of programs getting them ready for the actual event. Running a startup is very difficult. And the destination is never guaranteed. So I always would like the saying that the journey trumps the destination. So I'd like to be R&D Labs, I'm the founder and CEO. My name is Mohammad VC. I'm the founder and CEO of R&D Labs and R&D Capital. We'd like to be the first check-in. We don't like to be the second or third. There are many reasons for that, but the main reason is coachability and being able to be heard by the founders. First line of code I've written was 35 years ago. It was in a language that probably doesn't exist anymore, but it was something that got me interested in technology, and that was the first interest in technology, and that's the beginning of my journey. Fast forward a few years, in 2003, I set up R&D. So R&D actually, it's been around for 20 years. I look young, but it's been around for 20 years. I've actually aged 20 years, the past 5 years, when I joined a fund. So VCs is another way of speeding up your aging process. So the idea back 20 years ago was actually looking at how can I create impact. And one of the things I looked at was R&D, okay? And then I looked at statistics, and I looked at that there are certain countries that actually spend a lot of money on R&D, but not that many actually spend on R&D, let's say, in the MENA region. So I said, okay, in 20 years, over this 20-year journey, I'm going to develop skills and sets of processes to be able to help both private and public sector in setting up the R&D centers to create as much social impact as possible. 6 years ago, I started my journey with a new fund, funded by the Omani government, where we invested in about 160 startups in the MENA region, and I was responsible for the pre-seed stage and ran the acceleration programs for the pre-seed stage and the seed stage as well. And that allowed me to kind of revisit my initial thesis. And so I said, okay, I can work with corporates and our public sector in setting up the R&D centers, utilizing technology. Maybe there's a better way to do this, and that was startups. I think startups are the key in creating value and creating social impact. Without startups, you can't create every startup that we see, regardless of what it is. Like, for example, what Ando was presenting, just the idea of you hearing what he's been doing, that enough to cause some change in your mind. So that was the pivot, and so now I'm running R&D Labs and R&D Capital, and R&D Labs is actually let's say the brain, and R&D Capital is the money, and forming a fund to be able to do that. And now, why R&D Labs? So over the years, I've been working with a series of mentors and that are paid. So that's one of the challenges when you work with accelerators. Most of them are not paid, so the relationship is very murky. So most of the people I work with are paid, basically paid consultants. So we've worked with more than 1,000 startups over the years, and with that, we were able to look at specializing in delivering value to these startups, and that allowed us to actually have an impact on them. And we understand early stage. Early stage is very interesting. It's very there are many challenges with early stage. So you're trying to figure out, am I going the right path? So the question that you asked previously, how did you validate? And you made the decision to pivot because you found out that the initial idea was not the right one, but you actually figured out there was a better problem to solve, and a larger problem, which is $1 trillion or $2 trillion problem, which is a good problem for VCs to actually invest in. And then last but not least, sorry, this actually moved. One thing I realized is that founders, when they join acceleration programs, usually they're timed, either 3 months or 6 months, but the majority of the time it's 3 months. Imagine a marathon, when the marathon starts, everyone starts at the same time, but then they don't all end at the same time. They require support.
That is very quick, I know, but if you have questions, now is the time. So I will first go to Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you lots of questions later on. But for now, it's all about AI. AI seems to be quite a huge, making a huge impact right now. And I just wanted to know a bit more about whether you invest in AI companies or AI first, and also how you ensure that your founders who are developing products, your first check-in, are developing ethical AI or ethical technology, if not AI.
So the short answer is we're sector agnostic, so it doesn't matter where they start off. And just to clarify, when I invest in a startup, I actually assess if I'm interested in investing in the third startup before investing in the first one. I'm looking for a long journey. I'm not looking for a short journey. So because of that, regardless of the sector they're in, obviously we do take that into account. As we want to be as ethical as possible. But at the end of the day, most of the founders that invested in 90 startups, I tell them at the beginning, and when they come here, it's like, I don't care about your idea, I care about you as an individual, because I'm looking at building a long-term relationship with you, because most of the good deals that come to me are actually from founders, not from anyone else. So because of that relationship I build with them, allows me to do that. So that was a short answer to your question.
Thank you.
And now over to you. Any questions? Please pass it back.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm Investor Relationship Manager at Satisfy, and my question is, so the earlier the investment is, the more the founder's criteria attained, right? So you found yourself over the years, what kind of founder works best with you and your team?
That's a very good question. So I've worked with founders as 20 years old up to 65 years old. So to be honest, coachability is the biggest criteria. Other than that, again, because I'm looking long term, not short term. Because of that, I'm looking at building capacity within the founders. So because of that, I'm willing to kind of forego certain, let's say, shortcomings of some of the founders. So I'll give you a very quick example. One of our best performing founders actually works full time. He has a job, okay, and he's a single founder, and he's going to hopefully get us a 10x multiple on the investment. So traditionally, you would not even invest in that, but because of that, looking long term, it actually proved to be a very fruitful investment. But coachability is the biggest factor. If they're not coachable, I don't want to work with them, because going through this journey is very complicated, and because of that, they're not willing to listen to you, not willing to listen to the mentors, then it's a waste of time.
More questions?
First of all, it was particularly pleasurable as an ex-founder to see an investor get interrupted during his pitch. It's happened to us very often. It's fair game, so we go on that. Secondly, okay, so I was going to ask about what apparently was on your last slide that you didn't have time to get to, which was, what are the numbers? So from people who are here, who are looking at ticket size, involvement, stage, how long you want to stay on. Well, I guess it's up there now, but maybe an opportunity to hit the slide you didn't get time to.
So that kind of answers some of your questions. So the first fund I was part of, we did only 50K check. It was okay back in 2017 in the MENA region, but as we progressed, I kept on trying to convince my bosses we need to change it, but they were hard set on on setting the same terms. So the investment is 100K to 500, and the rationale behind that is that some areas they require more investment. So the idea is to get them to a point that they actually can be able to secure future investments, and then double down on those that are doing well up to 2 million. So that's a sector agnostic global mandate. By the way, most startups don't understand that VCs have actually investors that they need to adhere to. And you think your life is miserable with VCs, actually it's a lot worse for VCs with their LPs. First of all, you can't find them. You can't, you try to figure out how they actually assess, you can never understand that. And it's very subjective, and there's so many different rationale that they actually go about that. So it's even worse for VCs than it is for founders, just to let you know. But ideally, I want to do a global mandate. I know I'm going to get pushback on that, but I have and the reason why, because most of them want you to focus, and then the next question they ask you is like, where are you getting your deal flow from? And that's another challenge. Like, how do you get the best startups if you're going to be globally based? And I think I figured out certain ways. So one of the challenges I'm doing is like before this event started, before the website started, I ran a very quick campaign of the investor readiness program, where some of the startups that actually attended ran through that program itself. So that gave me another way to do it.